So behind me, you can see my profit just before the cut from betting on the US Masters in 2024. And I'm expecting to do the same this year, hopefully better. And it's something that I've done regularly over a large number of years. And if you want to find out how I do this, then just watch the rest of this video. So betting on golf is notoriously difficult. When we look at the US Masters this year, there are 95 players within this particular tournament. And of course, only one of those is going to win. Good luck with finding that winner. Now, of course, you'll have favourites and players at the front of the field that are more likely to win, but it's still a very, very tricky task to be able to pick off a winning bet. So very often bookmakers and sportsbooks say, if they finish in the top 5, you can win as well. But you generally get pretty poor odds when you're looking at a bookmaker or sportsbook. The way that you judge that is you look at the overround. The overround measures how much theoretical margin is going to the bookmaker if they can create a balanced book. Basically, it's the amount of money that they will make from you in the long term. Now, if you go onto a betting exchange, that overround is substantially lower. But also the advantage you have on a betting exchange is that you can bet for something or you can bet against it. So when you back something, you're betting for something to happen, you're betting for somebody to win the tournament. And when you lay, you're actually betting on somebody not to win the tournament. And of course, 94 out of 95 players are not going to win the tournament. So placing a lay bet on an exchange is a great way of finding a winner. However, you can do both on a player, netting the profit between the two, which is what we would call trading. And that is the key to some of the stuff that I do at the US Masters. So laying somebody in a golf tournament is a good way of getting a winner because in the US Masters, we've got 95 participants, only one of those can win. You've got 94 chances to pick a loser. And in a large golf tournament like the Open, you will end up with a situation where the field size could be 140, 150 players. And of course, again, there can only be one winner. However, there's a flaw within this cunning plan. And that is if you lay £100 at 20, then your liability will be approaching £2,000. In other words, you could win £100 very regularly, but if you just happened to pick the player that has an absolute blinder of a tournament, then you could be on the hook for the best part of £2,000. However, there is a strategy that allows you to actually lay loads and loads of players, and each time that you do that successfully, you will reduce your liability, and you will bring that potential liability down and down and down until such time as you guarantee a profit. So how does that work? Well, let's have a closer look. So what you can see behind me here is a thing of beauty. It describes the first strategy that we're going to look at here that allows you to be able to profit with minimal knowledge. All you're saying is the tournament competitive? Is somebody going to hold the lead? Is somebody going to come into contention? Is the leader going to go out of contention? These are the sort of things that we're looking for within a golf tournament. But the essence is, when we look at this image, what we're saying is if we lay 2 selections at odds of 2, we break even. If we lay 3 selections at odds of 3, we break even. It has to be with the same stake, by the way. If we lay 4 selections at odds of 4, we will break even. 5 at 5, 6 at 6, 7 at 7, 8 at 8, 9 at 9. Sounds like a song. Anyhow, that's the essence of this strategy. And you're thinking, well, I don't want to break even. Well, the answer is really simple. And that is, if you can lay 2 selections below odds of 2, you will make a profit. If you can lay 3 selections below odds of 3, you will make a profit. 4 selections below odds of 4, you will make a profit, and so on all the way down the particular chain. Now, when we look at the odds of the actual tournament at which it's starting, they obviously start at larger odds and then shrink to smaller odds as the potential winner gets more likely. So it's a question of timing as to when you choose to do this, but it could be that somebody takes the lead, you lay them, they fall out of contention, and then another person comes into contention, so you lay them. Or maybe you just lay them all at certain odds before the tournament has started with the anticipation that they're going to reach shorter odds at some point during the tournament. Even though you don't know, it puts you in the position to be able to potentially profit when that occurs. So yeah, what we're doing here is we're laying a selection within the market. We're laying another selection within the market. Both of them cannot win. And as a consequence, when you get matched on both of those, the liability that you have on one gets offset by the profit that you make on another. And the more of them you can do that to, even the better. So if you could lay 8 players at odds of 4, then you're going to make a lot of money. If you can lay 10 players at odds of 5, you're going to make a lot of money. And the essence here is trying to find that balance between how low the odds go as the tournament progresses, and laying as many of those players at those odds that you possibly can. But yeah, it's a quite simple and easy to understand strategy that you can use, that you can take advantage of the fact that only one of these players in this massive field is going to go on to win the tournament. So knowing how a course is going to play can allow you to profit as well. I'm going to bring up something here and I'll describe to you what it is. This is looking at each of the holes at Augusta and how they have played over a large number of years. So the deep green areas are areas where players are likely to pick up shots, and the yellow areas are areas where they're likely to drop shots. And this is key for the strategy that we're going to talk about. I will leave it on the screen for you while I talk about this. But because we can bet in play now, as the players are underway and going round the course, this presents a great opportunity for you if you understand the course. Because if a player is approaching a harder part of the course, then necessarily they're more likely to drop a shot. And if they drop a shot, then their odds will start moving out. However, if they pick up a few shots, then of course their price will start to come in. So you can actively trade that, or you can wait for a player to go through a particular section before placing your bet in the market, whether it's a back or a lay or whatever you want to do. So understanding the course is key, and that's why I've got this little image up here. But also there is a certain dynamic here as well. On days 1 and 2, the pairings are all sort of jumbled up, but on days 3 and 4, they're not. And of course, you need to pay attention to the players that have gone through these holes already, or maybe even in the clubhouse. Because if you've got a player in the clubhouse that's at about sort of, the same skill level and has got is leading basically, then as a player approaches these harder holes, then it could be worth laying them. Because if they do drop a shot, their odds are going to shoot out dramatically because the guy is having his cup of tea in the clubhouse. And obviously that is not going to have any bearing on his result. But it will have a negative bearing on the player that's going through already. It sounds a little bit complicated, but what I'm trying to say here is you need to think through the sequence of events that will allow your player, when he drops a shot, for his odds to drift. You just need to look ahead a little bit, see who's already played through the hole, and that will give you a significant advantage. But probably the best thing to do is to show you where this worked absolutely spectacularly on the US Masters in 2016. So understanding the course can give you some great opportunities, and we saw probably the best opportunity of recent years at the 2016 US Masters, where on the final day, Jordan Spieth was in the ascendancy. He was at a particularly good point within his career, and he went into the turn 7 under par, and he was trading on the Betfair Exchange at odds of 109. So to put that into perspective, if you laid £1,000 at odds of 109, that would cost you £90 if you went on to win, but you could win £1,000 if you went on to lose. And what actually happened was, as he went round that turn, he dropped shots on holes 10 and 11. But the interesting thing was that the player that was second placed to him as he went through the turn, Danny Willett, was in the group in front of him, and he had already passed through those difficult holes. So the opportunity to lay Spieth at very low odds that weren't going to go down much more was a good opportunity at that particular point as he was going through that harder part of the course. And then when Jordan Spieth turned up to the 12th hole, he hit his first tee shot into the water, so he had to take a drop. And then he successfully sent that second shot straight into the water. And to compound issues even further, he sent his third shot into the bunker, successfully getting a 7 on a par 3, pretty much completely destroying his entire hopes for the tournament. And of course, Danny Willett, who had already gone through these particular holes, just had to play percentage golf to see out the tournament. And it's highly unlikely that Jordan Spieth would be able to recover from that moment. So all that we did there was we looked at where we were playing on the course, we looked at where the hardest holes were, looked at the odds of Jordan Spieth and thought, well, even if we get this wrong, we're not going to lose much. But even if he drops a shot or two, then we would have in with a chance of making a decent amount of money. As it turned out, he completely blew the whole thing, and therefore our reward was exponentially more than we would have imagined. But it still illustrates a great opportunity that you get, especially when in these final days, when you've got players playing against each other, going through the harder holes at different times. It presents an absolutely first-class opportunity to lay some of those players. So I actively bet and trade on golf. And I tend to stick to the majors because when you look at a major tournament, that's where most of the liquidity is. That's where most of the money is going to be flowing through. And that just makes my life so much easier. It means that I can use more money safely. You can do some of these things on smaller tournaments, but I tend to stick to the majors. That's just a personal preference of mine. But yeah, I've outlined a couple of sort of simple strategies here that you can sort of try and get your head around. There are actually loads of things that you can do that are quite clever and nuanced when we look at individual tournaments and the strategies that you use on them. But what I've tried to do here is just give you a couple of examples so that you can have something that you can start on and hopefully put to use in some of these tournaments. And with that in mind, I hope that you have a great US Masters.